Alright, so we're back at it today. We've got the Cox. I've actually been able to give it a good run over the lawn and check how it's going, but I wasn't able to film that because it was a real quick one between rain events here in Brisbane. So today, as promised, I'm going to change from the 6-blade reel to the 9-blade upgraded reel. One thing I wanted to say was I've had some, I wouldn't say dramas, but I've had some, the reel isn't actually cutting paper. I mean, it's cutting that piece there. It's not in the middle. Not cutting in the middle. Not cutting on that side, so it might have to come down. Oh no, on the right hand side it's cutting. So on both sides it's cutting, but not in the middle. But that's the piece of paper. I've tested it with a blade of grass that I'm actually cutting out the back with, and it cuts perfectly even across the whole bed knife. So I think it would benefit from a sharpen, but look, at the end of the day, I used it on my lawn the other day and it was very good, and I was very happy with the cut that it produced. So when I did first fire up this from getting it, it was extremely noisy, but after about 2 or 3 minutes of running the reel, it sort of quietened down. So I don't know whether it sort of bed itself in, as you could say, but it did quieten down, and the cut is quite good. So I'm going to go ahead now and do a time-lapse video on removing it and then reinstalling. So I'll do a voiceover and let you know exactly the process of how that went. Okay, so the side cover comes off. We remove all the chains and the reel sprocket. Then I remove the 3 bolts that actually hold the sole plate to the deflector. It's a slightly different design to other mowers. Then you want to remove that sole plate and drop that out, and then you want to drop out the reel there as well. So you notice I've loosened all the bolts that hold it at the top and put pressure on the bearing carriers, and then it literally all drops out from the bottom. So that took probably about 15 minutes. Basically, I backed off the bed knife, so the reel to bed knife contact, so I brought it up so that the springs that hold tension on the carriers weren't under load anymore. There's 3 bolts that hold the deflector plate onto the sole plate, which is there. Oh, sorry. There, those 3, 1, 2, and 3. That holds that deflector in place. So I released them. There was 2 bolts holding the sole plate in place, drop them down. And then obviously I removed the bolts holding the carriers on. So here we are. We've got the 6-blade reel there, the standard one that I've just pulled out, and we've got the 9-blade reel upgrade. So the reels come fully assembled, and they've come with a carrier and a bearing, internal bearing there. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I guess now I'll just go ahead and figure out how I'm gonna attack this and put it in. So I'll now film the reverse process of putting it all back together. So basically everything happens in reverse here. The reel goes in first, then you bolt up the bed knife in the 3 bolts that hold the deflector in place at the bottom. Then you go around, you put on your reel sprocket, put on your chains, and then adjust those adjusted bolts from the top. And in this case, I actually removed the deflector plate and then refitted it. So that's what you'll see at the end of the video. Alright, so everything's been installed, chains are on. Here I am applying a backlapping paste. So I set the reel up, apply that backlapping paste. This is just to get rid of the surface rust that it had accumulated from transport, and it was only ever so slight. Okay, the 9-blade reel is now installed. Now, you'll probably notice in the video I've had to backlap it. The reason for that was this reel has come from factory. I had a rough grind, I could say, you could say it had. But look, it had a little bit of just surface rust as well, just from transport and stuff. So look, I put it in and gave it a quick back flap, and I'm talking, I only back lapped it for probably about 5 minutes. just to get a nice clean edge on it. And then I've obviously set it up. So here is the old paper cut test. Look, I got this bit of paper from Brisbane Cylinder Mowers. So this is a proper grade. I think it's like 3 thou or something. Anyway, it's some proper special test. So here we go. Let's set it up underneath and have a look at if it cuts. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's cutting all the way across. So this hasn't had a grind. This hasn't had any work done apart from installing it and back lapping it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and check that on my lawn and see how it goes. That's pretty cool. All up, the job took, I reckon, probably an hour. You'll notice in one of the videos as well, I tried to feed the reel in from the top and see if you could do it that way, so you didn't have to remove the sole plate, but that's not an option. You have to actually remove the sole plate and drop the reel down in that way. So anyway, pretty cool.